I have no interest in your guided tour of the property, Miss Mendoza. I'm here to assess and transact, not to engage in theatrics. James Barrett stood with his gleaming leather shoes, subtly sinking into the soft earth next to the horse paddock. Elena Mendoza pulled the cinch on her horse's saddle with a decisive tug, ignoring the man in the tailored suit beside her. This is not an act of charity, Mr. Barrett. It's about honoring one another. This land warrants more than a fleeting look before you sell it to the highest bidder. James glanced at his watch. A potential buyer is scheduled to meet with me tomorrow. A single stroll today should be enough. Your grandfather dedicated 5 decades to creating this place. Elena finally pivoted to confront him, her gaze mirroring the hues of the golden sunset. Is that truly the extent of your available time? The air crackled with tension as they faced each other from either side of the fence, him clad in a sharp tailored suit, while she wore her well-loved jeans and a denim shirt, a bandana tied around her neck. The horse next to her gently nudged her shoulder with warmth. My connection with my grandfather is not something you need to concern yourself with, James responded icily, nor are my intentions for this property. 3 days prior, James was in his corner office in Boston when his lawyer reached out with the news of his grandfather's passing. The unexpected bequest of Silverbrook Ranch arrived like a storm cloud on the horizon. 15 years had passed since he last exchanged words with the old man, a silence born from his decision to pursue business school instead of continuing the family tradition of ranching that had endured for generations. The journey to Montana was undertaken with a sense of hesitation. James transformed Barrett Developments into a well-regarded entity in East Coast real estate. He couldn't afford a detour to the middle of nowhere, particularly with the Harborview project at such a crucial stage. Mr. Barrett, the car is ready whenever you are, his assistant announced from behind him. I'll be right there, James replied, glancing back at Elena. I get that you and your father have been here for quite a while, but at the end of the day, it's all about the business. I will ensure you are properly informed when the sale is finalized. Elena's expression grew steely. My family has resided here for 3 generations. This is more than mere employment. It's where we belong. I appreciate your input, but that doesn't really pertain to me. Your grandfather made a promise to my father. Any verbal agreements that were in place vanished with my grandfather, James interrupted her. Unless you possess a document outlining the details. Elena's quietude conveyed all the information he sought. I had the same impression. James began to walk away, but he hesitated when he heard Elena's voice calling out to him. Take a moment to evaluate what you're parting with before discarding it. The therapy program has positively impacted numerous veterans and children. Is that of no value to you? Her voice held a quality that compelled him to pause. Is there a program for therapy? It was 5 years ago when your grandfather initiated it. We collaborate with horses to facilitate healing for individuals. She gestured toward a modest arena, discernible in the distance. However, I suppose that wouldn't align with a spreadsheet very well, would it? James experienced a brief surge of annoyance. This woman seemed to believe she had him all figured out. All right. A single journey. At dawn tomorrow. After that, I have a meeting with my buyer. The next morning, James awoke early in the strange bedroom of his grandfather's house. The walls bore witness to a collection of photos he deliberately turned away from, remnants of a life he had chosen to leave behind. He wore the only laid-back outfit he had brought along, khaki pants paired with a button-down shirt that seemed overly polished for the ranch atmosphere. As he sipped his coffee in the kitchen, he went over Wheeler's offer once more. The nearby rancher sought to broaden his enterprise, and his proposal was quite appealing. A swift and straightforward arrangement would allow James to return to Boston by the weekend. A sudden knock at the door broke the silence of his contemplation. Elena stood on the porch, fully attired for the day in her work clothes, her hair neatly secured in a practical ponytail. Are you prepared to unveil what has you so enthusiastic to offer? She inquired directly, without any introduction. The morning light illuminated her features, showcasing the freckles that danced across her nose and the resolute expression etched on her jaw. James came to see her true beauty, raw and genuine, a stark contrast to the women he usually dated in Boston. "Let's just finish this," he said, pulling on his jacket. As they strolled toward the stables, James caught sight of a young girl offering carrots to a pony through the fence. Elena explained, following his gaze, "That's Sarah, my niece. She resides with us as my brother and his wife are employed abroad." The young girl waved with great enthusiasm, while James responded with an awkward wave in return. "Sarah, Elena called to say that Mr. Barrett is visiting the ranch today. Will you be taking a ride on Domino?" The girl inquired of James with a directness that reflected her wide-eyed excitement. Just as James was about to respond, Elena stepped in. "Mr. Barrett is merely browsing today, dear. But Grandpa John always said you can't truly understand a ranch without experiencing it from the back of a horse," Sarah replied with a hint of naivety. James experienced an unusual constriction in his chest when his grandfather's name was brought up. "Another time, maybe," he remarked, taken aback by the softness in his own tone. As they strolled along, James noticed an elderly man stepping out from one of the barns. Elena explained, "That's my father, Miguel. For 3 decades, he has held the position of ranch manager here." James acknowledged Miguel with a courteous nod, observing the deep lines etched into the man's face, a testament to years of labor under the open sky. "Welcome to Silverbrook, Mr. Barrett," Miguel said, offering a weathered hand. "Your grandfather was a remarkable individual. He frequently mentioned you." James shook his hand, feeling uneasy under the intensity of the older man's gaze. "I appreciate your efforts in maintaining everything smoothly. Thank you for your dedication to my family." "Assistance?" Elena whispered softly next to him. "Is that truly what you consider a life devoted to something?" As they turned to leave, James felt a pang of regret for his words, yet he struggled to grasp the significance of his mistake. In 3 days, this would all fall into Wheeler's hands, regardless. "This is absurd," James muttered as he trailed behind Elena through the stables. "I'm not interested in learning the names of all the horses on the property." "Duchess Pepper Blackjack," Elena persisted, dismissing his objections as she gestured towards each stall. "These are more than mere assets, Mr. Barrett. They are beings with distinct personalities and rich histories." James glanced at his phone. "Wheeler is set to arrive in 3 hours. Could we direct our attention to the infrastructure?" "The horses are the backbone," Elena stated with conviction, "particularly for the therapy program. The chestnut mare over yonder." She assisted a 10-year-old boy in finding his voice again after years of silence following the traumatic experience of witnessing his father's death. James hesitantly tucked his phone out of sight. "I had no idea my grandfather was part of something like that." "There's so much more to him than meets the eye," Elena said, her tone becoming gentler. They moved onward through the stable and into the bright morning light. The ranch unfolded in front of them, with its undulating pastures, pine forests ascending the far-off hills, and the mountains towering grandly in the background. 300 acres, Elena remarked. The northern area boasts the finest grazing terrain. The eastern boundary traces the path of the creek that provides our water supply. As they strolled, James observed the well-trodden trail beneath their feet, shaped by countless journeys over the years. In spite of his reservations, he couldn't help but appreciate the beauty of the landscape. Boston offered its harbor views, yet nothing compared to this expansive openness that felt like a breath of fresh air for his thoughts. "Text, the therapy area is over here," Elena said, guiding him toward a sheltered building close to a group of smaller structures. Within the arena, the atmosphere was unpretentious yet meticulously cared for. A ramped mounting block was positioned to one side, while an array of equipment adorned the walls. Elena shared that they collaborate with veterans, children facing disabilities, and those who have experienced trauma. The horses offer a unique bond that no medicine can replicate, a connection free from judgment. "So, my grandfather was the one who financed this?" James inquired, his curiosity evident. He went beyond merely financing it. This arena was constructed by him, with assistance from the community. The initiative stemmed from his reading about the positive impact of equine therapy on soldiers dealing with PTSD. For the first time, James experienced a flicker of emotion that transcended mere business logic. "I was unaware," Elena stated matter-of-factly, "you weren't here." Their journey led them to the central ranch house, where they entered the study. The shelves brimmed with volumes on ranch management and the care of horses. A spacious desk commanded attention in the room, its surface meticulously arranged and orderly. Elena remarked that this was the place where your grandfather stored all the records. Despite facing financial challenges over the past few years, he consistently discovered methods to sustain the therapy program. James walked over to the desk, his eyes catching a glimpse of a leather-bound book that stood out from the usual business ledgers. "What is this?" Elena responded, "It's his journal." Every night, he poured his thoughts onto the pages. James unsealed it, instantly identifying his grandfather's unique script. As he turned the pages, various entries piqued his interest. April 18th. Had a conversation with Miguel regarding formalizing the arrangement. The Mendozas have as much right to be here as any Barrett. It's essential to discuss with the lawyer about formalizing it in writing. James glanced up with sudden intensity. "What setup?" Elena squirmed in her seat. "Your grandfather often remarked that the Mendozas would always find a place here, assuring us that when the moment arrived, we wouldn't need to fret. However, the will doesn't mention anything regarding this," James remarked, as he kept perusing the journal. May 30th. Elena's program welcomes 6 new participants. The transformation in the Williams boy is truly remarkable. I hope James could experience this aspect of ranching. It's not solely about profit, yet he remains oblivious to that in his realm of concrete and glass. James snapped the journal shut, disturbed by his grandfather's words. The crunch of tires on gravel broke the silence. From his vantage point by the window, James observed the arrival of Thomas Wheeler's truck. "He's ahead of schedule," James muttered. "Certainly, he is," Elena replied with a touch of bitterness. "He has been hovering around this place like a predator ever since your grandfather fell ill." James stepped outside to meet Wheeler, a tall figure in his 50s, his face marked by the elements and his walk exuding assurance. "Barrett, it's a pleasure to finally meet you," Wheeler said, reaching out with his hand. "I trust you had ample opportunity to explore. What a stunning property, don't you think?" "Indeed," James concurred, grasping his hand firmly. "However, my inspection was not yet complete." "There's not much to examine," Wheeler chuckled. "Land is simply land. The revised proposal is ready for your review." He retrieved an envelope from his pocket. "It's 5% above what we talked about on the call. I can have my attorneys prepare the documents by tomorrow." Elena lingered on the porch, her arms folded tightly across her chest. James proposed a private discussion, guiding Wheeler toward the study. Upon entering, Wheeler expressed himself with greater candor. "Listen, Barrett, I understand your enthusiasm to return to the East. This location is merely a wait for someone of your caliber. I'm presenting a competitive offer along with an additional incentive as I aim to grow my business." "What is the status of the therapy program?" James pondered the question. Wheeler's expression shifted ever so slightly. "That small passion endeavor? Not financially feasible. I would definitely close it, naturally, and repurpose the arena for my breeding initiative." James cast a fleeting look at the journal resting on the desk. "What about the Mendozas?" "I have my own team. They would have a month to vacate. Typical protocol." As Wheeler detailed his intentions, James grew more and more uneasy. The man described Silverbrook as if it were merely land and structures, overlooking the vibrant, dynamic entity that he had experienced through Elena's perspective that morning. "I need to ponder this," James finally remarked. Wheeler's smile wavered. "The proposal is only valid until tomorrow. If this doesn't work out, I have other investments to think about. Once Wheeler departed, James discovered Elena in the therapy arena, fine-tuning the equipment. "Did you really sell our home without our knowledge?" she inquired, her gaze averted from him. "Not yet," James responded, taken aback by his own reply. "I require additional time to grasp the details of what I'm offering." Elena finally pivoted to confront him. "What is the reason? Your indifference to this place is unmistakable." James spoke deliberately, revealing, "I discovered something different in my grandfather's journal. He penned a piece on formalizing your family's arrangement, but illness struck before he could see it through. I must determine what my legal responsibilities entail." Hope glimmered momentarily in Elena's eyes before her defenses reasserted themselves. "And if there are none," James paused, "then I still face a choice to consider." For the first time since his arrival, Elena's expression showed a hint of warmth. "Your grandfather often remarked that the best choices seldom arise from mere calculations alone." James felt a growing desire to witness more of that gentleness in her gaze. "Could you please show me more of the ranch tomorrow? How is the therapy program being implemented?" Elena observed him intently for a brief moment before giving a nod of understanding. "A session with veterans is scheduled for 9 o'clock. Steer clear of those urban footwear." As James strolled back to the house, he retrieved his phone to dial his assistant in Boston. After so long, the demands of work could finally take a back seat. There was an undeniable allure to this place, and perhaps to its passionate guardian, that warranted greater focus than he had initially intended to offer. The morning sun had just begun to rise over the eastern hills when James spotted Elena in the corral, guiding a chestnut mare in smooth, controlled circles. She donned a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, showcasing her tanned forearms, a testament to years of hard labor. "You're early," she remarked, seamlessly continuing her work with the horse. James adjusted his stance in the jeans and boots that felt foreign to him, remnants of his exploration in town the night before. "I wish to observe the entire process prior to the therapy session." "Having difficulty finding rest?" she inquired, casting a fleeting glance in his direction. He gave a nonchalant shrug. "The house feels teeming with spirits." Elena nodded, her expression suggesting a complete grasp of the situation. "The essence of your grandfather lingers powerfully in that space." Last night, James confessed that he discovered more in his journal. He detailed the ranch's financial struggles. Elena's connection with the horse wavered for a brief moment. "That information wasn't meant for you. What's stopping us? If I hold ownership, shouldn't I grasp the entire situation?" Elena reined in the mare and walked over to the fence where James awaited her. "My father preferred that you remain unaware. He feared it might simplify your choice to sell even further." Could it really be that terrible? 3 consecutive disappointing seasons, along with medical expenses incurred during your grandfather's illness. The therapy program yields limited financial returns. She locked her gaze with his. "Yet, we were coping." "In what way?" James applied pressure. "My father secured a second mortgage on his own property. I took on additional tasks training horses for various ranches." She raised her chin with a serene sense of pride. "We had faith in the foundation your grandfather established here." Just as James was about to reply, a pickup truck clattered into the yard. Miguel emerged, with little Sarah trailing behind, darting straight to the fence. "Mr. Barrett, will you be observing my ride today?" she inquired, her delicate fingers clutching the wooden rails. "Indeed," James responded, taken aback by the girl's excitement. Elena explained that Sarah assists with the younger therapy participants. "She is our junior assistant," and the young girl radiated with pride. "I demonstrate that it's not intimidating. Buttercup is the most tender-hearted pony you could ever meet." Miguel moved forward with a measured pace, offering a respectful nod to James. "Greetings, Mr. Barrett. I notice my daughter is showing you around thoroughly." James confirmed her situation, shedding light on some financial realities that had previously escaped my notice. Miguel's weathered face betrayed no emotions. A ranch is perpetually a challenge, my friend. The favorable times offset the unfavorable ones if you possess enough patience. And if you're not, James inquired with a sharp edge, then maybe ranching isn't your calling. Miguel replied with a straightforward tone. The older man's serene composure unsettled James. This was not the submissive worker he had anticipated. Miguel presented himself as a collaborator, someone equally committed to the prosperity of Silverbrook. The arrival of vehicles broke into their discussion. Elena glanced at her watch. The Veterans Organization has arrived. Sarah, could you assist them with signing in while I wrap up with Duchess? As Sarah hurried away with purpose, James observed the newcomers. A vehicle adorned with a VA hospital emblem accompanied by 2 personal automobiles. 6 individuals, a mix of ages, stepped forward. Some walked with a certain stiffness, while others bore visible scars or sported prosthetic limbs. Do these individuals come here every week? James inquired. Elena confirmed that for most of them, it was twice a week. Some have been attending for years, while others are recent additions. James watched as Elena and Miguel skillfully got ready for the session. The participants approached the horses, each displaying a unique level of assurance. Some advanced with careful steps, whereas others navigated the space as if they were old friends. A tall figure with a prosthetic leg knelt down to assist Sarah in adjusting the saddle on Buttercup. His calm demeanor with the child and comfort around the horses suggested a familiar routine. That's Marcus, Elena pointed out, observing James's interest. A former Army Ranger who lost his leg in Afghanistan. At the beginning, he remained silent, avoiding conversation with anyone. He now assists those who are just starting out. The session commenced with basic grooming activities. Elena navigated through the participants, providing subtle support and motivation. James observed with intrigue as expressions softened, shoulders eased from their tightness, and dialogue slowly blossomed within the gathering. It's more than just riding, Elena clarified during a short pause. The bond with the horse is what truly matters. These creatures perceive the feelings we attempt to conceal. They reply with sincerity, free from any judgment. My grandfather grasped this, James inquired. He went through it himself, she responded. Following the passing of your grandmother, he faced significant challenges. The horses provided solace when all else failed. As the session moved into mounted exercises, ominous clouds began to loom on the horizon. Miguel approached them, his brow furrowed with worry. A storm is approaching, and it could be a severe one, Elena acknowledged with a nod. Let's keep it brief today. In just a few moments, the wind surged with intensity. Elena and Miguel collaborated seamlessly to conclude the session and ensure participants reached their vehicles safely. The rain started to descend just as the final car drove off into the distance. We must ensure everything is secured, Elena shouted above the howling wind. During the spring storms, the creek is prone to flooding. Without a moment's hesitation, James rolled up his sleeves. What options do I have? Elena's expression shifted for a brief moment, but she regained her composure swiftly. Assist me in guiding the horses into their stables. The following hour unfolded in a whirlwind of chaos as the storm grew stronger. James discovered himself guiding anxious horses, arranging hay bales to safeguard equipment, and assisting Miguel in securing the outbuildings. The rain drenched his attire, yet the pressing nature of the task prevented him from being aware. As they burst into the main barn, all 4 of them were soaked to the bone. Sarah laughed softly as she twisted the water out of her braids, while Miguel tossed his head back and forth like a playful pup. That's the quickest I've ever seen you act, Mr. Barrett, Elena noted with a touch of admiration in her tone. James corrected her, surprising even himself. After we've both been drenched, feel free to call me James. The sudden crash of thunder startled Sarah. Elena embraced her niece tightly. The creek, Miguel remarked with concern, gazing through the rain-smeared windows. It is already on the ascent. Elena gasped at the therapy equipment. After giving the sensory tools a thorough cleaning, we set them out to dry. Before anyone could intervene, she sprinted back into the torrential rain, making her way to the therapy arena. James proceeded without a moment's doubt. Upon arriving at the arena, they discovered water already trickling beneath the walls. They collaborated to collect specialized equipment, weighted blankets, tactile tools, and communication cards, ensuring everything was moved to higher shelves. While they toiled away, Elena shared insights about each item, detailing its significance and the individual who gained from it. Her fervor was palpable in each phrase, despite the chill that made her tremble. "What makes this matter to you?" James inquired as they completed their task. "What can you tell me about this location? These individuals?" Elena halted, droplets cascading from her hair onto her shirt, which was already drenched. For a fleeting instant, the assured ranchwoman vanished, revealing a glimpse of something fragile beneath the surface. "My mother had multiple sclerosis," she whispered softly. Before her passing, horses offered her a sense of liberation that her own body had denied her. I witnessed the significance of her sitting tall in the saddle, despite her inability to stand on her own. The intimate disclosure lingered in the space between them, altering the atmosphere even amidst the chill and dampness. Apologies escaped James's lips, and he truly felt the weight of them. "What can you tell me about your mother?" Elena went on, revealing that her grandfather had a deep understanding. "When I suggested the therapy program, he showed no hesitation, not even for a moment, despite its lack of profitability." James surveyed the unassuming arena, perceiving it with a fresh perspective. This was more than a mere business risk, it represented a heritage of kindness. As they rushed toward the barn, James resolved to take action. The proposal from Wheeler could hold off for now. Silverbrook held deeper layers than he had permitted himself to perceive, and he must grasp its entirety before determining its destiny. "Are you still present?" Elena exclaimed, taken aback to see James at the breakfast table 3 days post-storm. "I assumed you would have made significant progress towards Boston by this point." James lifted his gaze from the account books of his grandfather. "Wheeler's proposal can hold off for a bit longer. I must grasp the situation I'm facing." Elena filled her cup with coffee. "What insights have you gained up to this point?" James noted that this place has been operating at a loss for 3 years, yet it somehow continues to run a therapy program that fails to generate sufficient revenue to support itself. Elena countered that not everything of value produces income. "In my realm, it certainly does. Perhaps that's the reason your grandfather wished for you to experience this place." Elena rested her weight against the counter. With a decisive motion, James shut the ledger, revealing a realm beyond the ordinary. "Today marks the celebration of the Spring Festival, doesn't it? Miguel brought it up yesterday." Elena arched an eyebrow. "Are you interested in attending?" "To truly grasp this place, I need to explore its role within the community." The quaint town of Silverbrook buzzed with life, its main street adorned with charming, locally owned shops. The Spring Festival turned Central Park into a bustling hub, filled with food stalls, craft vendors, and a quaint stage where a local band strummed country tunes. As they strolled through the festival, James couldn't help but notice the numerous people who greeted Elena warmly, calling her by name. What was even more astonishing was the number of people who recognized him. "The grandson of John Barrett." An elderly woman exclaimed, clasping his hand, "We've heard so much about you." Your grandfather beamed with pride over your achievements in the East. James forced a courteous smile, feeling uneasy about the notion that his grandfather had discussed him despite his own lack of effort to nurture their bond. At the periphery of the park, a quaint corral had been established. With a bright smile, Sarah waved from her perch on Buttercup, guiding a cheerful procession of children on their pony ride. Elena explained that the ranch supplies the horses for the festival each year. Every penny raised will support the art program at the local school. James noted her skill, observing Sarah as she calmly guided a timid young boy. Elena spoke with pride about how she also assists the younger therapy kids. Once her parents departed for their overseas assignment, she became increasingly withdrawn, remaining silent for weeks on end. The horses returned her to us. Throughout the day, James encountered ranchers, shopkeepers, teachers, and families, each with ties to Silverbrook Ranch. The participants of the therapy program welcomed him with heartfelt sincerity, recounting tales of how the ranch had transformed their lives. As Elena was summoned to assist with the horses, Marcus, the seasoned participant from the therapy session, made his way over. Without any introduction, he stated that Elena mentioned you might be selling the place. James gave a careful nod. I'm weighing my choices. Before I discovered the program, I was taking 5 different medications and still couldn't manage to sleep through the night, Marcus stated, his tone straightforward. Now I'm left with just one job, and my child no longer fears me. I'm truly pleased to hear that it's been of assistance to you, James responded with genuine warmth. It's not only me, there are 23 of us who come regularly, along with the children's program. Marcus locked eyes with him unwaveringly. Wheeler has been quite explicit about his intentions for this land, aiming to develop luxury homes, and the message has resonated throughout the town. Just as James was about to reply, Elena made her entrance once more. Additional volunteers are required for the setup of the community picnic. Looking to lend a hand? The remainder of the day unfolded in a whirlwind of busyness. James discovered he was arranging tables, serving food, and even evaluating a pie contest, despite his claims that he had no knowledge of baking. After years of constant distraction, he found himself free from the urge to check his phone every 5 minutes. Boston seemed like a distant memory. As dusk settled in, the lanterns flickered to life throughout the park. The ensemble transitioned to more languid melodies, prompting couples to take to the improvised dance floor in front of the stage. Miguel appeared beside James, holding a cup of lemonade, and remarked, "Your grandfather never missed a dance." They made quite the duo, didn't they? James took the drink with a nod. She hardly comes to mind. She passed away during my childhood. Miguel mentioned that she instructed Elena's mother on how to ride. The Barrett and Mendoza families share a deep-rooted connection that spans generations, transcending the typical boundaries of employer and employee. On the dance floor, Elena guided Sarah through a straightforward 2-step. Her laughter echoed through the park as she spun her niece around. She bears numerous weights, Miguel remarked, tracking James's stare. The ranch, the program, Sarah. She remains silent, yet there are moments when my concern lingers. James noted her remarkable ability to manage any situation. Miguel wore a knowing smile. Even the most skilled require assistance at times. As the evening progressed, Elena noticed James observing from the periphery. She playfully remarked that dancing wasn't really her thing. He conceded that this was not the type he had in mind. Corporate events align better with my interests. Come on, city boy, she extended her hand. It's time to embark on a new journey of knowledge. To his own astonishment, James grasped her hand and accompanied her to the dance floor. The band played a gentle country ballad as couples swayed gracefully around them. Just follow my lead, Elena directed, guiding his hand to her waist. Initially, he was rigid, overly concerned with avoiding her feet, but as the music flowed on, he began to ease into the uncomplicated beat. It wasn't terrible, she admitted. It seems you could have a promising path in country dancing ahead of you. I'm not sure I'll find many chances in Boston. Do you envision your future unfolding there? Is it always Boston? The inquiry took him by surprise. Just a week prior, he would have readily agreed without a second thought. Cradling Elena beneath the vast, twinkling Montana sky, uncertainty began to creep in. He finally spoke, revealing, I created something there. An organization, a legacy. What else are you creating, apart from structures? She inquired. Just as he was about to respond, Sarah dashed over to them. Aunt Elena, the bonfire is being lit for the marshmallows now. As the moment shattered, they trailed behind Sarah to the spot where a grand bonfire was being ignited at the park's edge. Families came together, armed with long sticks and marshmallows, as the air filled with the joyful squeals of children. As the evening deepened, the festival started to come to a close. James felt a hesitance to depart, observing as Elena bid farewell to different members of the community, with many expressing their heartfelt thanks for the ranch's role in the occasion. As they journeyed back to the ranch, Sarah dozed off in the back seat. The path lay shrouded in darkness, pierced only by the beams of headlights and fleeting flashes of moonlight filtering through the branches above. "I appreciate today," James murmured, gently interrupting the peaceful stillness. "What for?" "Revealing a different perspective of this location, of yourself." Elena focused intently on the road ahead. "Has anything shifted as a result?" "I'm not sure at this point," James replied candidly, "but it certainly provided me with more to ponder." At the ranch, James gently lifted the slumbering Sarah from the car. The child shifted a bit, yet found comfort against his shoulder, embodying a trust that caused a tightening sensation in his chest. Once Elena tucked Sarah in for the night, she made her way to the porch to join James. The night unfolded with clarity, stars shining with a brilliance that was a rare sight in Boston. "Are you interested in exploring my favorite spot on the ranch?" she inquired abruptly. "At this moment? In the shadows? That's the perfect moment." Intrigued, James trailed behind her to the stables, where she brought forth 2 horses that were already saddled and ready to go. She elaborated, anticipating his astonishment. "At times, following the festival, I crave solitude." They traveled quietly through the illuminated fields, ascending a soft incline until they arrived at a crest that offered a sweeping view of the valley below. Below them, the ranch buildings appeared as mere pinpricks of light, fading into the distant glow of the town beyond. Elena spoke gently, reminiscing about the times she and her mother visited this place, back when her mother could still ride. "At times, we would gaze upon the sunrise." "It's beautiful," James said, with sincerity in his voice. The expanse of the terrain, the brilliance of the celestial bodies, the feeling of depth. It impacted him in ways he never anticipated. Elena remarked that this is what would transform into opulent vacation residences if Wheeler has his way. Locations frequented for a mere fortnight annually by those seeking to indulge in a rural fantasy. James defended, "Not everyone from the city is like that." "Absolutely not." Elena pivoted to meet him completely under the glow of the moonlight. "How about you, James? A week ago, you were eager to sell this place and return to your true life. Has anything truly shifted?" The challenge in her voice was clear, yet beneath it lay another layer, an unmistakable vulnerability, a flicker of hope she was striving to protect. James felt an undeniable pull towards her. "I'm not quite sure what has shifted, but there is definitely a change." They locked gazes for what felt like an eternity before Elena finally averted her eyes. "It's time for us to return. The hour is late." As they descended the hill, James became aware that he had overlooked multiple calls from his Boston office. In the past, that would have thrown him into a frenzy. For the first time in his adult life, something else appeared to hold greater significance than business. For the 3rd time that morning, James's phone rang. Richard's name illuminated the screen, demanding attention at last. "Richard, what's the pressing matter?" he replied, moving away from the therapy space where Elena was preparing for the afternoon session. "What needs immediate attention?" "Perhaps it's worth noting that our most significant project is unraveling while you're off playing the role of a cowboy in Montana." Richard's voice was strained with tension. "The zoning commission meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, and our legal team insists that your presence is essential." James pressed his fingers against the bridge of his nose. "I believed we had everything arranged perfectly. The local community group has submitted an urgent request for an injunction. They assert that our development will ruin the historic essence of the community or some such exaggeration. The investors are starting to feel uneasy, James." Peering through the entrance of the arena, James observed as Elena showcased a fresh exercise to Sarah and Marcus. The previous week had swiftly passed as he delved into ranch life, absorbing the intricacies of operations, participating in therapy sessions, and assisting with fundamental chores. With each passing day, Wheeler's offer grew increasingly uninviting. "James, are you really paying attention?" Richard insisted. "I have arrived. Kindly arrange for my booking on the next available flight to Boston. I will take care of it." Once the call concluded, James made his way back to the arena at a leisurely pace. Elena glanced up from her task of adjusting a saddle, instantly interpreting his expression. "She declared that you are departing. My company is facing a situation. I must return." Elena nodded, her expression meticulously composed. "When will it be?" "Today. I will book a flight at the earliest opportunity." She redirected her focus to her task. "Thank you for making the effort to visit the location. I have no doubt that Wheeler will be pleased to receive your message." James protested that he hadn't made any decisions about the ranch. "Have you not?" Elena finally met his gaze, her eyes filled with defiance. "As soon as Boston reaches out, you're out of here. That speaks volumes about what you value most." "That seems unjust. I bear obligations." She interrupted him, saying, "So do I. To these individuals, to this initiative, to my loved ones. The distinction lies in my refusal to flee from them." James experienced a sudden surge of frustration. "I created a thriving business worth millions from the ground up. I'm not evading my duties, I'm confronting them head-on." "Then confront this as well," Elena indicated the surroundings. "Your grandfather bequeathed you more than just property, James. A legacy was bestowed upon you, a sense of purpose to carry forward. However, that seems a bit chaotic for your spreadsheets, doesn't it?" Sarah moved forward with care, acutely aware of the charged atmosphere. "Are you departing, Mr. Barrett?" James lowered himself to her height, his tone gentle and soothing. "Only for a brief moment. I have some matters to attend to." "Will you return?" The seemingly straightforward question carried a significance beyond the child's understanding. He vowed to give it a shot, though uncertainty lingered in his heart about his sincerity. 3 hours later, James found himself aboard a plane bound for Boston, gazing out the window as the vast expanse of Montana shrank away beneath him. The ranch, Elena, Sarah, everything seemed to blur into a dream as the familiar cadence of his professional life took hold once more. Upon landing, he found his email flooded with 50 urgent messages, and his thoughts were already turning to the Harborview project. His downtown apartment seemed devoid of warmth after the ranch house. He stepped into the shower and emerged transformed, donning a suit, the well-known attire of his true existence. As he adjusted his tie, James glimpsed his reflection in the mirror. He appeared just as he had prior to Montana, yet an unmistakable shift lingered in the air. The following morning, James entered the Barrett Development's conference room to discover a charged assembly of lawyers, investors, and his executive team. "There he is," Richard exclaimed, a wave of relief washing over him. "It's time to tidy up this situation." The meeting was intense. The local community group challenging the Harborview project had amassed considerable backing from the public. Pictures of historic structures marked for demolition spread rapidly online, accompanied by narratives of longtime residents confronting the threat of displacement. "We adhered to all legal obligations," their lead attorney asserted, "yet public opinion is shifting away from us. The zoning commission is hesitating." "What do you suggest?" James inquired. "We enhance our proposal to the last few who are still undecided. Every individual has a cost. And if they don't sell," Richard interjected, "we move forward regardless. The law supports our position. They will be condemned for obstructing advancement, employment opportunities, and economic development." James examined the project renderings displayed on the wall. Opulent residences and upscale shopping, replacing what was once a vibrant working-class community. For the first time, he perceived it from a fresh perspective. "These residents," he said with a measured tone, "where will they go? Richard's eyes widened in astonishment. That doesn't fall within our scope. The market will take care of it. The market will sort it out, James echoed, the phrase now feeling empty. Just as Wheeler will organize the therapy program at Silverbrook. Who is Wheeler? Richard appeared perplexed. James rose suddenly. I require a breath of fresh air. Please proceed without me for a few moments. Outside their office building, James dialed Miguel's number. Mr. Barrett, the older man replied, a hint of astonishment in his tone. How is everyone doing there? James inquired. We are handling things. Sarah inquires about your well-being. Once more, the creek overflowed its banks yesterday, yet we managed to safeguard the equipment this time around. And Elena, Miguel hesitated. She possesses unwavering resolve. Wheeler stopped by yesterday with some documents. She dismissed him. James experienced a sudden wave of relief. Excellent. Let her know that I have some thoughts on my mind. Once he hung up, James strolled to a nearby park, a neatly kept little square that contrasted sharply with the untamed splendor of Montana. A garden tended by the community in one corner captured his attention. A sign marked it as a healing environment for a community veterans initiative. James observed the volunteers engaging with participants, their exchanges echoing the experiences he had witnessed at Silverbrook, yet tailored to fit an urban environment. The similarities were undeniable. Upon his return to the conference room, the team was engrossed in discussions about their strategy. The PR director mentioned that we've crafted a press release positioning the opposition as anti-progress. We will highlight the employment opportunities generated and the tax income produced. Hold on, James murmured softly. Silence enveloped the room. James, Richard urged. James proposed a reimagining of the project, suggesting the preservation of historic structures, the inclusion of affordable housing units, and perhaps even space for community programs. Richard fixed his gaze on him. Is this for real? That would reduce our profit margin by at least 40%. However, James noted that we would still turn a profit, and we wouldn't be harming a community in the process. What transpired in Montana? Richard pressed. You departed as a merciless entrepreneur and returned as a compassionate advocate for the community. James offered a faint smile. I encountered something I had overlooked, a meaning that transcends mere profit. The meeting concluded without reaching any resolution. As the group departed, Richard lingered in the room. This goes beyond just the project, doesn't it? He inquired. James gave a slow nod. It seems that adjustments are in order. Is it the ranch? Are you holding on to it? I'm contemplating it, Richard observed him closely. Is a woman playing a role in this unexpected change? James pondered over Eleanor. Her resilience, her fervor, her steadfast dedication to her convictions. It goes beyond her alone. It's about discovering an element I never realized was absent from my life. That night, James found himself unable to drift into slumber. He opened his laptop and started his research. Programs focused on equine therapy, the financial aspects of ranching, and the principles of sustainable tourism. As the fragments started to align in his thoughts, he sensed a lucidity he hadn't felt in years. The following morning, he convened an urgent board meeting at Barrett Developments. He announced to the stunned room that he was resigning from his position as CEO. Richard is set to assume control. I will keep my ownership share but will step back from the daily operations. This is about the ranch, isn't it? Richard asked after the others had departed. In part, James acknowledged. I'm embarking on a new endeavor. You are turning your back on all that you have created. James gave a slow, deliberate shake of his head. I refuse to turn my back on this. I'm creating something unique. 3 days later, James found himself in his vacant apartment, his crucial possessions ready for transport to Montana. The sound of his phone pierced the silence. Wheeler's figure. Barrett, I've been attempting to get in touch with you, Wheeler remarked as James picked up the phone. Today is the last day for my offer. Have you come to a conclusion? James gazed at the architectural plans laid out on his counter, envisioning the future of Silverbrook. Indeed, I have, he responded. The ranch is not available for purchase. Don't be naive, Wheeler insisted. That location is a financial drain. The Mendoza girls' small therapy initiative is draining its resources. In my view, it's not merely the therapy program that represents the future of Silverbrook, but rather a broader, more expansive vision of it. Wheeler paused, lost in thought. You're heading down the wrong path, Barrett. You don't belong to the world of ranching. No, I am not. James consented. Yet, I possess the ability to create something of true value. I've simply been constructing the incorrect elements. Once the call concluded, James cast a final glance around the apartment that had been his sanctuary for years. It no longer carried the essence of home. His destiny awaited him in Montana. If only Elena would grant him another opportunity. When James arrived, the Silverbrook County Fair was bustling with activity. He parked his rental car at the periphery of the fairgrounds, taking a moment to absorb the atmosphere. Vibrant food stalls, exhilarating carnival rides, captivating agricultural exhibits, and the faint echo of an announcer resonating from the main arena. He had been away for 3 weeks. 3 weeks spent tying up loose ends in Boston, completing his transition plan at Barrett Developments, and getting ready for a future he had never envisioned for himself. Now, standing at the edge of the fairground, with his meticulously crafted business plan tucked under his arm, James experienced a moment of uncertainty. What if Elena had no desire to return to him? What if he arrived after the moment had passed? Guided by the announcer's voice, James navigated through the throng to reach the main arena, where a crowd had assembled. He quietly settled into the back row of the bleachers, just as the announcer's voice resonated throughout the area. Up next in our therapeutic riding demonstration, let's give a warm welcome to Sarah Mendoza and her students from Silverbrook Ranch. The audience erupted in applause as Sarah gracefully entered the arena with Buttercup, while Elena skillfully accompanied 3 therapy participants on their horses. The young ones' expressions radiated focus and accomplishment as they showcased the abilities they had acquired. From his vantage point, James had a clear view of Elena. Her assured motions, the tender manner in which she directed both horses and riders, the smile that graced her face whenever a child triumphed at mastering a new skill. She had not laid eyes on him yet. As the demonstration concluded with fervent applause, James navigated his way toward the entrance of the arena. As Elena guided the horses out, she came to a sudden halt upon catching sight of him. "You've returned," she remarked, her face a mask of calm. "Indeed, I am," James affirmed. "You were incredible in that moment." Elena passed the reins of her horse to Marcus, who had suddenly come up beside her. "Return them to the trailer. I'll arrive shortly." Marcus nodded, casting a questioning glance at James before guiding the horses onward. Elena folded her arms across her chest. "What's the vibe in Boston?" "I can't say for certain. I no longer reside there." That piqued her interest. "Excuse me." I stepped down from my role as CEO and cleared out my apartment. I am relocating to Montana. Elena's gaze sharpened. "What is the reason?" "Because I discovered something here that deserves to be nurtured," James responded, maintaining eye contact. "If you permit me." Before she had a chance to reply, Sarah caught sight of him and dashed over. "Mr. Barrett, you've returned. Did you witness our ride? The children performed exceptionally well, wouldn't you agree?" James lowered himself to meet her gaze. "Each of you was truly remarkable. Your achievements fill me with pride. Will you be here for good this time?" Sarah inquired, repeating the same straightforward question she had asked when he departed. James gazed at Elena while he responded. "I certainly hope so. If your aunt is open to listening to my perspective." Elena's expression softened a bit at Sarah's clear joy, yet her defenses stayed intact. "Sarah, please assist Marcus with the horses." I need to have a conversation with Mr. Barrett. After Sarah departed, Elena guided James to a serene spot tucked away behind the exhibition barns. You can't just stroll back in here after 3 weeks of silence and think everything will be right where you left it, she said, her voice laced with restrained emotion. James acknowledged, understanding the situation. I intended to reach out, but I wanted to ensure everything was organized beforehand. I aimed to demonstrate my sincerity. What, precisely, are we being serious about? James retrieved the folder he had been holding. Concerning this matter. My perspective on the future of Silverbrook. Elena hesitated as she grasped the folder, slowly prying it open. Within were detailed architectural renderings, comprehensive business plans, and meticulous financial projections. As she turned the pages, her demeanor shifted from doubt to astonishment. A larger therapy center, sustainable cabins, a training program for certification in therapy. She gazed up at him. This would require a substantial investment. I possess millions, James stated plainly. And links to funding sources for nonprofits, conservation organizations, and partners in medical research. Barrett Development's assets devoid of Barrett Development's financial gains. What would motivate you to take this action? Elena inquired, a note of true bewilderment coloring her tone. You might have made a deal with Wheeler and moved on without a second thought. James moved in closer. In Boston, amidst all that I've dedicated my life to creating, my mind was consumed by what I had discovered here. The intention behind your actions. The collective. Me. Elena's breath hitched. Myself. James spoke gently, revealing a new perspective on how to define success. Through influence, not merely gain. By fostering relationships, rather than merely seeking to obtain. Elena shut the folder, her demeanor still cautious. What if I choose not to be involved in your ambitious new plan? What if I don't want to be the cause of your life's upheaval? The vision remains unchanged, James responded. I'm maintaining the ranch, enhancing the therapy program, and paying tribute to my grandfather's legacy. However, I would prefer to do it alongside you rather than in your absence. Elena remained silent for an extended period. Your departure caused me pain. I understand, and I apologize. How can I trust that you won't walk away when things become difficult? It's going to be challenging, James. Life on the ranch is no getaway. He acknowledged that as well. I can't guarantee that this will be a walk in the park. I assure you that I will remain committed and navigate the challenging moments. Their dialogue was cut short by the call for the upcoming event. The fair buzzed around them, unaware of the pivotal moment of choice suspended in the air between them. The Wildflower Meadow, Elena said suddenly. Are you familiar with it? James gave a slight nod. The ridge we traversed under the night sky. Let's rendezvous at dusk. We'll discuss it further at that time. As Elena departed, James was enveloped in a mix of hope and doubt. He meandered through the fair for the remainder of the afternoon, exchanging pleasantries with familiar faces from his last visit and responding to inquiries about his comeback. To his astonishment, numerous individuals greeted him with warmth, conveying their delight that the grandson of John Barrett was continuing his legacy. As dusk settled in, James made his way to the ranch, where he prepared a horse with Miguel's assistance. She's as stubborn as her mother, Miguel remarked while adjusting the cinch. Yet her heart remains steadfast. Indeed, James responded. Miguel observed him closely. What about you? Is your heart sincere, Mr. Barrett? James replied with sincerity, I hope to demonstrate that it is. The elderly gentleman inclined his head in acknowledgement. Then go demonstrate it. As the sun dipped below the horizon, James made his way to the ridge, the Montana sky transforming into a breathtaking canvas of orange and gold. Elena had taken her place, perched on a weathered log that provided a perfect view of the sprawling valley below. He gracefully dismounted and carefully secured his horse before making his way to her side. When I was young, I used to come here with my mother, Elena said, diving right in. Once she fell ill and could no longer ride, my father would bring her up here to watch the sunsets. Your grandfather ensured that the path was consistently kept in good condition, allowing for easy access. I wasn't aware of that, James remarked softly. There's much you remain unaware of, Elena responded, regarding this land, the people who cherish it, and about myself. I wish to learn, James expressed, if you would grant me the opportunity. Elena pivoted to confront him directly. I need reassurance, James, that this isn't merely a fleeting fancy, that you won't find yourself 6 months down the line longing for your corporate life and harboring resentment towards all of this, and towards me. That's simply not in the cards. How can you be so certain, she questioned. James inhaled deeply. I've never experienced such a profound sense of vitality as I do in this place. In Boston, I crafted structures. In this space, I can create something meaningful, something that aids in healing, that safeguards this land, that pays tribute to all the values my grandfather held dear, which I once overlooked. He extended his hand toward hers, feeling a wave of relief wash over him as she kept her grip steady. Elena, you are unlike anyone I've ever encountered, so deeply anchored in your purpose and so certain about what truly matters. I am eager to create this future alongside you, encompassing the program, the ranch, and everything that comes with it. Elena's demeanor became gentler. You've transformed. You've transformed me, James stated plainly. This location and you. The sun sank lower in the sky, stretching shadows across the valley beneath them. In the distance, the ranch buildings started to shimmer with the glow of their lights. I had Miguel clear this area last week, James said, gesturing to the beautifully arranged wildflowers surrounding the fallen log. The flowers that captured your heart during your childhood. He explained to me what they were. Elena surveyed her surroundings, taking in the meticulously organized meadow for the very first time. When did you do this? James confessed he had been back for 3 days, remaining in town and preparing everything. 3 days, and Elena's eyes grew wide. What kept you from coming to the ranch immediately? I aimed to approach this with the utmost care, to demonstrate my sincerity. He delved into his pocket and retrieved a petite wooden box. I'm not merely requesting your approval of my business plan, Elena. Her breath hitched when he unveiled the box, disclosing a ring that was both simple and elegant. I'm inviting you to create a life alongside me, James continued, right here at Silverbrook, a true partnership in every sense. James, Elena's voice trembled. He recognized that it was quick. I'm here for as long as you require, but I felt it was important to share my perspective and what I'm aspiring to achieve. Elena gazed at the ring, then turned her eyes to James, tears welling up within her. First, I must clarify one thing. Everything. If I decline the personal aspect but agree to the business partnership, would you still remain and continue all of this for the ranch? James nodded with unwavering certainty. Certainly. The ranch is worthy of this future, no matter what unfolds between us. That appeared to settle something for Elena. She inhaled deeply, then beamed, the first true smile she had offered him since he came back. Then indeed, she affirmed, to everything. James gazed at her, his expression one of utter astonishment. Is that so? Elena's laughter echoed across the ridge. Indeed, I truly have missed you, city boy, even during those moments of frustration. James gently slid the ring onto her finger, drawing her in closer with a tender embrace. Their kiss marked both an end and a new dawn, the sunset enveloping them in a warm glow as the horizon unfolded like the valley beneath. As they finally separated, Elena leaned her forehead gently against his. James chuckled, knowing that Sarah would be absolutely thrilled. I believe Miguel as well. He nearly pushed me out the door earlier. Elena confessed that they had all noticed it before we did, the way our eyes met. As twilight descended, they climbed onto their horses to ride back to the ranch, to the home they would now inhabit together. By the way, James remarked as they rode side by side, I have the official papers for your family. The Mendozas now hold permanent rights to reside and work at Silverbrook, officially documented at last. Elena beamed with delight. Your grandfather would surely take pride in your accomplishments. For the first time, the thought didn't overwhelm James with a whirlwind of feelings. Instead, he experienced a profound tranquility, a feeling of completion. He murmured his hope softly. I am, at last, creating something that honors his legacy. As they neared the ranch, the lights shimmered invitingly in the night, and James felt a sense of discovery wash over him, as if he had stumbled upon something he had long sought without even knowing it. Not merely achievement, but meaning. More than merely a property, it's a sanctuary. More than a collaboration, it's a deep affection. The wealthy man had truly arrived to inspect his property, never anticipating that he would find himself captivated by a modest horse trainer. Yet, there are moments when the most surprising paths take us precisely to our destined place. Sunlight poured through the windows of the renovated ranch house, creating golden patterns on the hardwood floor, as Sarah thoughtfully arranged wildflowers in a mason jar. Do you think this will work for the centerpiece, Aunt Elena? She inquired, making subtle adjustments to a particularly obstinate blossom. Elena lifted her gaze from the seating chart she was examining. It's absolutely wonderful, darling. The tables will be stunning. A year had gone by since James Barrett arrived back at Silverbrook Ranch, bringing with him architectural designs and a proposal of marriage. During that year, the ranch experienced a remarkable change. A measured progression that respects its roots while paving the way for what lies ahead. The therapy program has grown significantly, now accommodating 3 times the number of participants in a cutting-edge facility. 5 eco-friendly cabins were constructed along the eastern ridge, offering lodging for families of therapy participants while also creating a sustainable source of income. A training center provided certification courses for practitioners of equine therapy, attracting students nationwide. Today, the beautifully transformed barn would serve as the venue for James and Elena's wedding. He often told Mom that wildflowers surpass store-bought blooms because they have the freedom to choose their own place to flourish. James placed the box on the ground and beamed at his future niece. Your grandpa was a wise man, wiser than you realized, Miguel remarked, trailing behind James as they entered the house. The caterers are preparing in the barn. Marcus is assisting them, James acknowledged with a nod. Thank you, Miguel, for all that you've done. The elderly gentleman's eyes twinkled with warmth. My daughter is filled with joy, and the ranch is flourishing. That is sufficient gratitude. As the last touches were being made, James paused to step out onto the porch. The ranch unfolded before him, horses dotting the landscape, the freshly built therapy center shining in the morning sun, as staff and volunteers busied themselves for the afternoon ceremony. Boston seemed like a faded recollection at this point. While he continued to offer occasional advice for Barrett developments and kept ties with non-profit foundations that had played a vital role in Silverbrook's growth, his existence was deeply anchored in the rich soil of Montana. Richard had made an appearance once, appearing comically mismatched in designer boots that he adamantly avoided letting come into contact with any real dirt. He walked away, shaking his head at James's transformation, yet he couldn't help but acknowledge that he had never seen his former partner so at ease. Feeling a bit hesitant? Eleanor's voice interrupted his musings as she stepped onto the porch beside him. James faced her, a smile lighting up his features. The contrary. I eagerly anticipate making it official. Eleanor rested against the porch railing. Did you ever envision this being your reality when you initially arrived to sell the property? Not for a moment, James confessed. I believed I had a clear vision of what success entailed. I was completely unaware of the constraints of my perspective. Eleanor extended her hand toward him. We've created something quite remarkable, haven't we? We're only beginning, James said, gently squeezing her fingers. The ceremony unfolded at sunset within the beautifully renovated barn, adorned with wildflowers, twinkling lights, and an air of simple elegance. With grace, Sarah took on the role of flower girl, joyfully scattering petals along the aisle as Eleanor made her entrance on Miguel's arm. Among the attendees were participants of the therapy program along with their families, ranch staff, local townspeople who had formed friendships, and a handful of James's former colleagues who had played a role in Silverbrook's transformation. Even Wheeler was present, having ultimately transformed into an unexpected supporter when James suggested a conservation easement that served the interests of both properties. As they exchanged vows, the final beams of sunlight streamed through the barn windows, casting a warm glow around the couple. Their vows to one another mirrored the path that united them, respecting their history while forging ahead, harmonizing aspirations with realism, discovering resilience in their contrasts. At the reception, Sarah caught everyone off guard by requesting the microphone. At just 9 years old, she exuded confidence as she faced the assembled guests. Upon my initial encounter with Mr. James, I was convinced he would strip us of our home, she started with the blunt honesty of youth. He sported quirky footwear and was unfamiliar with the art of horseback riding. Amusement spread among the audience as James feigned indignation. However, he began to explore the ranch, the horses, and our therapy kids, Sarah continued, and I witnessed his transformation. My mother believes that home transcends mere location, it embodies the essence of family. It seems that Mr. James discovered a sense of family among us, even if he was unaware that he was in search of it. Elena brushed away a tear as Sarah finished, so thank you for being here, Mr. James, for loving Aunt Elena, for rescuing our ranch, but most importantly, for joining our family. James wrapped his arms around Sarah as she approached their table, the weight of emotion rendering words unnecessary. As the festivities unfolded around them, James and Elena quietly made their way to the ridge, their cherished spot now adorned with a quaint wooden platform, ideal for soaking in the beauty of the sunset. Content? James inquired as they gazed across their realm. More than I ever imagined, Elena said, sinking into his embrace. When you first showed up in that sleek suit, I was convinced you were just another affluent individual who viewed land solely as a means to make money. James chuckled, acknowledging that you weren't completely off the mark. I was that person. Not anymore, Elena declared, pivoting to confront him. Now you're the person who sits on the floor with therapy kids, who knows all the horses by name, who stays up all night when a foal is coming. Remember the guy who sometimes sneaks a peek at the stock market on his phone when he thinks you're not paying attention, James said with a smile. Elena chuckled softly. Some habits are tough to break, but what truly counts is that your heart is present now. As night descended, they lingered on the ridge a bit longer, discussing their aspirations, enhancing the veterans program, constructing a sheltered arena for winter sessions, and creating a scholarship fund for therapy participants in need of financial assistance. In the end, they strolled side by side toward their gathering, to the community that had grown into their larger family, to the future they were crafting together at Silverbrook Ranch. The millionaire arrived to examine his inheritance, unaware that he would find love with a modest horse trainer. In this unexpected journey, he unearthed the most valuable legacy of all, one not quantified in currency, but in the lives changed, including his own.